So let me preface this video by saying, if you know an educator, pray for an educator, because it's real tough out here in the field of education. Now, that's not what this video is about, but it does tie into what I'm going to talk about today. For months, God has been leading me on this topic because I can see it in my own life, but I know just because I can see it in my own life does not mean that it's not applicable to other people's lives. So I feel like this topic, or what he has tried to get me to see, and it's more of a question, so you'll have to examine this question for yourself as well. Does what we want or what we desire trump what God wants for our lives or desires for our lives, or does it even trump the plans that he has for our life? So in thinking of it that way, I had to go into some reflecting and look at some of the plans that I have made for my life, and looking at, okay, now I plan to do this. Did I seek God first before I planned to do this? Did God lead me to do this? And there are some things that I can say that no, I was not led to do. No, I did not consult God first. No, I didn't feel led, but I proceeded anyway because it seemed to be the right thing to do, or it seemed to be a great thing to do because it's something that I planned. And that it has brought me here. Now, remember in this video, I first started out talking about, if you know an educator, pray for an educator. So this year is I'm going into my 13th year in the education field. How did I end up in the education field? Because education was not anywhere on my radar. Didn't have no desire. I know the kind of kids that I went to school with, and we were not the greatest bunch of kids. So education was not on my radar, but some kind of way I ended up in education. And it took me back to how I got started. So I was working for Wells Fargo. Well, it was First Union at the time that I was hired. They were in the middle of a merger, merging over to Wachovia. And then while at Wachovia, we went into a merger to Wells Fargo. I was there for about 5 years. In 2010, I resigned as a teller and teller trainer, and I did not work for a whole year, well, almost a whole year. I did not work. I was able to do stuff more with the church. At the time, I was the bookkeeper at the church, but I was also able to travel and be available for more things or whatnot. In 2011, I started as a substitute teacher for my current district. Now, I started as a sub because now here it is, I have not worked in almost a whole year. So now I got to get back on my feet, got to help maintain the family stability or whatever. So someone said, have you considered substitute teaching? And I was like, okay, that might be, good for now, provide some income, help us continue to pay our bills or whatever. But I didn't think that I would stay that long in education. Now, when I start to reflect, did I consult God really before doing that? Or was it something on the spur of the moment, looking out for the needs of our family at the time? Okay, here comes an opportunity to make some income. The scheduling is perfect. I'm on my kids' schedule. I have the weekends off, nights off. So perfect. I can work when I want to and all that. I can turn down the job, or I can, accept the job. So it was very flexible. So I did that for about 3 years. Then a more permanent position became open. So I was like, okay, this education thing ain't so bad. And I was loving the school that I was at, which I'm still currently at. So a more permanent position became available in the reading department. So I took that position, worked that position for a year, and then I continued to grow up the ladder. Then another position came open because I'm still liking the flexibility. No nights, no weekend. I'm on the same schedule as my kids because at that time my kids are in public school. So the schedule was perfect. I could still travel. I could still be home at a decent hour. Do all of the stuff that I needed to do. Still perfect. So I moved on to the special education department. I worked that for a year. Then I moved up again to the data clerk. Well, I think it was titled data specialist back then, but data clerk, data specialist. I worked that for about 4 years. Then I transitioned into what my current position is right now. It is a potential specialist, which is really just a fancier name for a dean. However, in my role, discipline is not my primary role, but I do help with some of it. I do all the other tasks that come with the job description, but discipline is not my first one. Not saying that I don't like what I do. I absolutely love what I do. I love the opportunity to work with so many different kids, and it's such a blessing to see kids that have traveled through the school come back years later to see you, thank you, appreciate you, love on you, send stuff to the school for you because they appreciate the role that you played in their lives over the years. Some of them are in their mid-20s now. Not mid, yeah, probably mid-20s. Some of them still reach out. I pass them every now and then, and they're still thankful for just being who I was in their life at the time. So I do see it as a platform of ministry. It is an opportunity to reach a lot of people, but it has become very stressful. So I say all that to say this. In the message today, it started reminding me of like our purpose in God and how if we are called of God and God has a call on our life, anything that is in the place of where God should be in our lives, we won't have any peace. We won't have any joy. And I've been looking lately, and it came to me the other night when I was thinking on something, and I said, you know what? I think I know what's wrong. I have lost my joy in this season. And I'm like, maybe that's why I'm feeling the way that I do. I feel so like heavy laden and I feel burdened. But I also came to this realization on my drive home from Orlando today that anything that is in the place where God is supposed to be, you won't have any joy or any peace until God is in his rightful place, which is first in our life. So I went through the whole education thing to say, I don't know what God's full plan is for my life. I've just been told my whole life, God has a plan for your life. God has a purpose. God has a call on your life. Have I fully understood it? Absolutely not. I just know that there's something. What it entails, I'm not exactly sure, but I know that I have ministry. I know that I have something to offer people. I know that everything that I've had to deal with in life, things that I've endured, things that I've overcome, none of it was just for me. So, and I remember my sister said this it's probably been about years now, but she said, God has impacted your life to touch people. Everything God has brought you through, everything God has done in your life, it is for you to now turn around and minister to other people, to give them hope, to show them the way, to show them that life is not over when we face these difficult situations. And that's what I've just always hung on, not just her saying it, but I've been told that all my life. Like, there's something big or bigger that God will have you to do. So now I'm thinking, okay, is work so tough now because I put it first? And I do put work first, and I'm gonna explain why I put work first. Not that I want to put work first, but now that I'm reflecting and I'm seeing, I put work first. right now in this season, and if you watch my previous videos about my children, they've gone off to college or whatever. So right now, I'm not responsible for anybody but myself. Well, I am kind of still responsible for them, but right now, I'm responsible for myself. What I'm gonna eat for dinner is just me I gotta worry about feeding. What I'm gonna eat throughout the day is just me that I gotta worry about feeding. I fully submerge myself into work because I don't have anybody that I'm responsible for. So I have that freedom, I have that liberty, and it just helps me go through my day and keep my mind off stuff if I'm busy working, if I submerge myself in work. I'm normally there early and I'm normally one of the last ones to leave. And I've just been looking. I put work first. I do this for work. I do that for work, which is why I made the statement on one of my posts one Sunday that if I can get up and get dressed for work every day, then there should not be any reason whatsoever that I cannot get up on a Sunday morning and go to church. If I can give work that type of energy, why would I short God on his time on a Sunday? Now, I may not make Bible study through the week. I watch it on a broadcast, but making it there physically sometimes is hard because I'm working late. But if I can get up every day and give my job all of this time, I show up and I give 100+%, I should be able to give God the same type of effort and same type of work. That I've kind of put my ministry on hold for a few reasons, but I put it on hold and I've kind of put God on the back burner. Now, that's not to say that I don't serve God, I don't pray, I don't trust in God, I don't read my word, but there was a time when ministry was first. Everything else fell second to that. And I think that's where I'm seeing, okay, this is why you're so stressed. This is why you're so burnt out. This is why you're so overwhelmed, because you're giving all your energy to just this one pot, which is your job. But you don't give God, your Father, the same type of effort. This is what made me continue to go back to the question, does what we want or desire trump what God wants and desires of our life? Now, back when I made the decision to switch to education, it was in the kind of like the spur of the moment kind of decision. Didn't really plan it out. Did not plan to stay in education. Again, it was just, okay, at that moment, our family needs some more income. Here's some more sources of stability to help us maintain and stay afloat. So here, take this easy job. Did not know that I was going to end up liking it, end up loving it to an extent, and I'm still there. But is that truly the plan that God had for me? Now, has he used me in the 13 years that I've been on this track? I'm sure I have impacted the lives of many students, even faculty and staff along those years that have passed through. Of course, he's used it, but is that truly the plan that he has had for my life? Or is it the plan that I made in the spur of the moment? This is what causes us to go back now and seek God. What is the plan that you have for my life? Because when we're walking in the plan that God has for our life, or we're walking in alignment with what God has called us to do, there is peace, there is joy, there is happiness, there's a fulfillment that comes with that, because you know that you are walking according to God's plan. You are walking on the track that he has laid out for you. Problem we have is we can't see God's plan. We can only be led by him and follow his leading, because we know that that is a part of his plan. But because we can't see it with our natural eyes, sometimes we tend to guess, well, this feels right, or this feels, this feels okay. So, and it can appear that God is working in it because it seems to be flourishing and blossoming. But all along, it's really our plan. It's what we desired That's not what God desired. God's plan has already been written out from start to finish. Our plans, we make them as we go. We make them based on what mood we're in, what feeling we're in. But God's plan has already been established since the foundation of the world. Before we were even born, the plan for our lives have been created. What we're going to do at the age of 5, what we're going to do at the age of 20, if we should reach 50, the plan for our life and every step we should make in this life has already been laid out in God's plan. But because we can't see it with our natural eye, we tend to step outside of God's plan and create our own instead of just staying right where he has us. If you pray and you ask God to lead and guide you, you have to come to a place to trust that he's going to do just that. Sometimes that's hard because on that path that God has created for our lives comes situations, circumstances, tests, trials, you name it. Everything is on that path or plan that God has designed for our life. But it's necessary that we go through it so that we can reach where it is that God's plan is taking our life. Our plan for our life, we'll skip and bypass all the tests and trials, and we'll just be happy-go-lucky. But no, God's plan got some tests and trials set up on it to make us into the minister that he would have us to be. I don't know the bigger picture of it all. I just know that God has something for me to do. And until I put him in his rightful place, which is first, nothing else is going to feel as fulfilling until God is in his proper place. Again, I'm not saying that I don't serve God. I don't, do all of that. I do. I still do all of that. But it's not my first priority. I always put it second. Well, I'm going to do this later, or I'm going to go do this later, or no. When it comes down to godliness, that should always be first. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of souls that need to be touched, and they may not be touched by going to the church. They may not be touched by listening to a broadcast, but they might be touched if you encountered them one day in Walmart or at a restaurant or in the mall. You might be the only glimpse of God or the only glimpse of Jesus that person may encounter. They may have lost hope in going into the church and hearing about God, because there's so much stuff going on right now that people don't want to go to church no more. And I know, like my post earlier today said about getting up and going to church. I know some people have lost hope in the sacredness of church because there's so much stuff going on in churches. But there are still churches out there that still have a fear, that still honor God and reverence God, and still concerned about the souls of its congregation and every member that comes in there. There are still churches out there that care about your soul and where you will spend eternity. So don't lose hope in church. You may have to go to a few before you find one that does that, but don't give up hope. But for those that may not ever step foot in the church, they're waiting on someone like you and I to cross paths so we can minister to them, so they can see the light, they can see the hope. But I know for me, I have not felt any of that because I have not put that first. God has been on the back burner. Even though I seem like I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm still producing a video here and there. I could be so much more active on YouTube if I put this first. And I think that is what God is trying to get me to see. Until you put me first in everything in your life, you won't have total peace in anything. You won't have total joy in anything until you are about my business. Because at the end of this life, that is what's going to matter. What did I do for God? Did I hold on to the plans and the desires of my own life or what I planned? Or did I fall in line with the plan God has for my life? His plan, I might not agree with it if I could see it totally, But I know his plan is far greater and far bigger than any plan I could ever imagine for my own life. His will always be better. Even if I don't understand it, his plan will always be better. I just want to encourage someone today that may watch this video. Just take a moment and look at what you have planned for your life. Does it outweigh what God is planning for your life? If you don't know what God is planning for your life, or you can't see, start praying and asking him to reveal his purpose and plan in your life. And now I'm going to tell you, when you start praying and asking, be careful, because when he starts revealing and showing, it may not be anything close to what you thought the plan for your life was. It may be something totally different, but you got to trust that he knows what he is doing. He can see, he knows what's up ahead, he knows everything about our lives, he knows everything about us. This is where our trust in God comes. We got to trust him.